Hey, welcome. It is the 13th of July, 2022. It's a Wednesday, midday here in the Midwest, late morning where Tommy Danielson, my partner, is in California. I'm Rudy Maxa. I'm a travel journalist and broadcaster, and Tommy is an expert on all things travel, including particularly frequent flyer miles and upgrades and hotel points. And jointly, we own maxatours.com, which is a small group upscale European travel company. You can find more information at maxatours.com. But this is not a commercial for that. This is our periodic, almost daily, 5-6 days a week. We try to do a travel update. And I want to start with the strength of the US dollar. If you have plans to go to Europe in the next month or so, or maybe longer, you are in luck if you're paying with US dollars. Because for the first time in 20 years, the dollar is almost on parity with the British pound and the euro. Now, I was in Europe, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, and it took me about $1.20 to buy a euro. It's now 99 cents. Now, you might have to pay $1.01, $1.02, but the point is, it's about €1 for $1, and the pound is
119 for the pound today, and also the Scandinavian currencies, the Swiss franc. It's the dollar is in general, if you're traveling, stronger, the strongest it's been in a very long time for sure.
And by the way, if you think this is unusual, well, it is. As I said, it's 20 years since the euro was at parity with the dollar. And you said the pound was 118, Tommy?
This morning it is, let's see here. This is live on Bloomberg, 119.
119. Now, just to give you a comparison, I have been in England at least once, maybe twice, where instead of $1.19 to buy a pound, it took you $2 to buy a pound.
Right.
So you can see the fluctuation is quite considerable. All right, so that's it. So good news if you're traveling, paying with dollars.
Yeah, Scandinavia also, it's record numbers. We're talking the Norwegian kroner. It's 10.16, and when we were there just about a month and a half ago, it was 9.2.
Good. Okay, and one thing I'd like to add to that, if you are looking to buy airfare, particularly on an airline going to Europe, you might want to check the European website for that airline. How do you do that? Well, when you go into, a French airline, don't tell them you're American. Don't tell them don't tell them you're in the U.S. because some airlines will price their price for the tickets in local currencies. And if they know you're buying in the U.S., they're going to give you the full. They're going to, give you the full dollar. They'll get every dollar, every penny they can out of you. Whereas if you're buying, they think you're buying with French francs or German, what used to be French francs, or German euros, or French euros, or Greek euros, or Italian euros, you can often get a significant discount. So
French
keep
franc,
that in mind.
That's a good one. So we're seeing that. It's important to realize though that a fair caution when we're talking about buying directly from the airlines here, not from other sources.
Right.
There are some various sites. It has been reported widely lately that there are some super saver sites where you don't buy directly from the airlines that are having issues with long refunds. They have issues with changes because of customer service and long wait times on the phone. Some of them even don't offer phone support. So Rudy's meant you definitely check it out online and check it that you buy with a credit card that has no foreign exchange fees because you have to buy in the local currency. And buy directly from the airlines only. There are significant savings. I just did that myself and saved about $200 on a ticket. And also, Rudy, when you originate, it depends where you originate to. There's also another trick to this if you travel a lot, is originating in Europe on your travel, flying. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, right now, I am on a trip that started in Stockholm 3 weeks ago when I was there, and it's going back to Stockholm in early September to work in Europe again. So that saved me about $800 on a business class ticket. The business class ticket is $2,400 from LA to Stockholm, while the other way around it was $1,600.
And you bought another ticket that brought you home and back. So you basically bought two tickets at once, but you made the starting country the cheaper country.
Well, I used miles to fly over to Europe, and which I did 3 years ago. I'm always on a trip here. I used miles to fly over to Europe. Mm-hmm. And then I started a ticket that goes from here to the U.S. and then back. And if I have other trips that I have to take in the meantime, I go with. Obviously, I travel a lot over to Europe, but it saves me thousands of dollars a year doing it. So specifically, it doesn't have to be business class. So specifically, premium economy is the best deal, which there are very many ways to upgrade for cheap to business class. Those started usually about $1,400-$1,500, and they are $800-$900 from here, if from Europe, if you buy the same direction. So definitely big things to be had, but you need to know what you're doing, and don't go out on your own. And there are steps that you need to do, and it's also obviously if you're going on one trip, then don't do it like that. But
yeah, it doesn't work. But if you know you're going to a particular country twice in the next 300 days or so,
correct.
and if you know your dates, go ahead and, well, you get it. Buy your starting flight for one of the tickets from that country, and then from the other ticket, but make the return on the other ticket. If you follow. I know it sounds confusing, but it's not if you think about it.
It really isn't. So like I said, I used miles to go to Europe, and then I used purchased the revenue ticket to go round trip, and then if I wanted to end it there, I can just use miles to go back.
Right. Okay. What do you got?
Yeah. So I have a couple of things today. I want to talk a little bit about coffee. There was a little bit. I saw Gary this morning was talking about his regimen for coffee. I don't know how, he says, his routine is very, very, everybody has a morning routine when it comes to coffee. I know Gary has, I don't know how old his Euro coffee machine is, but he does have a Euro coffee machine, which is not an inexpensive coffee machine. But when you travel though, what's your ritual, Rudy, when it comes to coffee?
Well, Tommy, that I rarely drink coffee. I'll occasionally have a cappuccino, but I never make it myself when I'm traveling. I always buy it from a coffee shop. Are you about to say, I didn't read this article, but are you about to question the cleanliness of the coffee machines in hotel rooms and how often they're...
I'm sure that's a thing, but at the end of the day, I think that, what the travel expectations are. So the Keurig machines are very popular here in the U.S. Those are little pods plastic pods that people use, which to me that is a horrible, horrible coffee. It's very light, it's very thin, and it's not better than any of those little coffee machines that you have in your hotel room. I don't make coffee in my hotel room other than if it's available to do in an espresso machine or any sort of espresso type of coffee, meaning that it doesn't have to be espresso. You have something called lungo, which is a long espresso, which is more like a coffee for those who like it a little bit weaker. But I mean, I think that for Americans who are historic, it's not that long ago since we had a coffee revolution. When I moved to the U.S., we were like kind of gradually into that. People are talking about questioning, yes. So drinking coffee on planes, I never drink coffee on planes unless they have an espresso machine. Those tanks that they keep the water in it's not very clean, and it tastes like exactly like that. These are water tanks that are filled up, and those tanks are rarely cleaned, and it's not a regimen that's really good there. I mean, there's a reason why when you're in the toilet of a airplane bathroom and it says don't drink this water.
Right. Well, I have often read that to stay away from hot drinks, which is to say coffee and tea, on airplanes. I guess there's also a reason to hand out bottles of water too, because that's usually either spring water or purified water. So it's a better idea.
That's the thing. That's why they do it, or one of the reasons they do it. But at the end of the day, I don't drink coffee on planes. There are some of the airlines that do have espresso machines. I mean, Aegean, for example, and most of the long haul planes. So here it's inconsistent. American might have it, and they might be out of order. SAS has an espresso machine. It hasn't worked in like 3 years. They have it on all their planes. Say, there's something wrong with the current and blah, blah, blah. And instead of, having Airbus fix it or whoever fixes the machines, they're just letting it be out of order. But, Qatar, for example, Etihad, Lufthansa has it on their long haul planes in business class, et cetera, et cetera. So there is the opportunity to get good coffee on board for sure. But at the end of the day, I would not get the drip coffee. It's just not it tastes horrible. So, but looking at it's interesting to read these bloggers what they're looking at. So you have 1 Mile at a Time. It's a very popular blogger, and now he's made a ton of money. So he's all of a sudden become a a coffee snob and talking about luxury hotels and coffee rituals and all that kind of stuff, which I find like really comical. I remember this kid when he was like 17 years old. But I think that, coffee for me is not, a bunch of milk with one shot of espresso and all sorts of flavors in it, because at that point it really doesn't matter what kind of coffee you put in there. But it's interesting to see and how the rest of the world perceives it, what's available, and it's and seeing how this country has evolved in the coffee gig. What else do you have?
Well, the big news today is that Heathrow Airport has asked airlines not to sell any more outgoing tickets until September 11th. All the airlines at Heathrow Airport. Can you imagine that? They're joining Gatwick. And of course, last week, Amsterdam Schiphol put a limit on outward bound tickets as well. I just find it amazing. But apparently these airports have not been able to staff up sufficiently, both for security and luggage and so on. And they're just having too many bags not arriving with passengers. They're having too many people waiting hours in line. I mean, there's stories of people showing up 4 hours at the airport. But this, look at this. Heathrow asked airlines to stop selling as it limits daily passengers to 100,000. Now, normally they have 104,000 seats every day. So I really don't know what 4,000 more is going to do, but they seem to think that will help a lot. So if you, and by the way,
it's right now what we're seeing, and we've talked about this a million times before, and it was really predictable. We talked about that in May. We have people who have airline credit. Right now we are pretty much in a recession with high inflation. So, and the same thing goes for Europe. It's not, they have even more challenges than we do because they heat a lot of their houses. I mean, we also have the same issue here that a lot of our energy, our energy is created by natural gas, and the prices are up, skyrocketing because of Russia having such a big part of that. So have a big part of the manufacturing for that globally. So when we're looking at gas prices itself, we are gas, like gas you put in your car, not natural gas. It's really not that high. It's nothing to make, but natural gas is. So I feel like what's happening now is a lot of people had credit during the pandemic. They had tickets that they booked in 2020 and 2021, which is funny money. They are owed travel by various airlines, and these redemptions are not happening all at the same time. Everybody wants to go. And in Europe, it's more dominant than it is here. We do have a big summer holiday thing here, but not as much as Europe. Like all of July and half of August, these countries in general shut down, and many countries in general shut down and take their holidays at the same time. And that's a problem when everybody wants to travel immediately. And in addition, we have Americans going over to Europe now and that kind of stuff.
And this is what travelers need to know. If you have a ticket to fly out of Heathrow, British Airways, I mean, even for the next few weeks, British airlines serving Heathrow are calling people up and saying, I'm sorry, you can't fly that day. We'll put you on another day. So even if you have a ticket, you can't really sit back and relax and say, oh, well, we're solid because we already have a ticket. No, they've got to cut back. So it's going to be it's going to be a mosh.
Like I said about a month ago when we talked about this, it's like we're talking about labor shortages. We're talking about training for new people in security lines. We're talking about training new people to do various jobs in various areas. It's going to keep doing this stuff until mid-September when school is back in session. That's what's going to happen. So my advice is to not travel until early September. That's what I personally would do. And so what we're doing this summer, we're driving, it was a little bit delayed, the vacation, but we're driving to Mendocino hopefully this weekend. And it's a 4-hour drive from here on back roads, and of course completely free because we have an electric car, and enjoying ourselves locally where we are. And we're also taking a trip to Hawaii in about in 3 weeks from now. Also locally easy because we live in a small airport and we have clear, so it's not a big deal, and we don't see the type of disruptions here as we see for flights and everything. But I think that the best advice to do is just Yes, book those, use those credits, get them booked, get them going. And also it's better to go to Europe in September because the weather is a little bit cooler. It's not, there's a big heat wave in Europe with 80, 90 degrees and humid areas. It's
and if you got to fly to Europe, try to avoid Gatwick, Heathrow, and Amsterdam at the moment. So
and Stockholm.
And Stockholm. Okay. All right.
Stockholm is,
I have a couple of shorts, I think, Tommy.
Yeah, I've also seen that's also ignore stay out of Scandinavia altogether. I just helped a friend of mine, Charlie, to get out of Bergen. It's actually something that's mind-boggling. Scandinavian Airlines is on strike, or the pilots of they've been on strike 6 times the last 10 years, and now they are. It's a fundamental thing. It's been going on for about a week and a half, and what they want is unrealistic. So who knows how long it's going to go on. But he showed what we had, which I tried to call from here to rebook him because we both are pretty savvy and we found ways to get him home. He was supposed to fly back yesterday on the 12th. And he's on a flight now on his way to Vancouver. He lives in Seattle. So he had a flight out of Bergen to Oslo to Newark to Seattle all on SAS, except for the last leg, which was United. And he couldn't get through. So he texted me and I tried to call SAS here. I tried to call them in Norway. No luck at all. And I just texted him. I said, the best thing you can do, your flight is at 8 a.m. today. It is canceled. I can see that it's canceled, but there's a flight to Copenhagen at 6 a.m. Why don't you show up at the airport an hour and a half early? They will rebook you to that flight and get you going from there's plenty of seats, at least 30 seats available on that flight. Get to Copenhagen, then you're in a major city with much more than Little Bergen. You've been to Bergen. It's a stop for our Maxi tour, and then onward to London. There's also availability on SAS, and then you're out of that mess this morning. That was the plan. He shows up at the airport and is told at the ticket office that they don't do rebooking. He has to call.
Oh God.
And you can't get through on the phone. And, I've seen status members that has SAS Eurobonus Gold or Diamond, having 5-6 hours worth of wait in order to get through on the phone. The flight, he was there. The flight was leaving an hour and a half later. And I said, how do you figure? What if he was in Plus, which is premium economy? I have a flexible ticket. Rebook me. I have a flexible ticket. I said, no, we don't rebook here. And it's like, and I checked, I put it on the Scandinavian frequent flyer forum on Facebook. SAS doesn't do that anymore. They do not support rebooking at an airport. So if you have changes to your flight, they won't rebook you at an airport. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
No, I have not. So how did he get out?
So he end of story. Those who want to know, I booked him from here on Widerøe, which is a small Norwegian commuter carrier. I booked it. They fly to a smaller airport outside of Oslo. It's a little bit further outside of Oslo. I rebooked him to that, or not did rebook him. I purchased him a ticket for about $120 a person, family of 4. He got to Oslo, and at the only airport in that SAS rebooks you at is in Oslo, which is crazy.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
I mean, at the end of the day, if SAS gets through this crisis, I'm reluctant to book them because of all of this. It's just not a good idea. But like I said, in conclusion, September and onwards, book your travel for that. Do not attempt. Also, domestically, we're also seeing disruption, cancellations, delays, and all sorts of fun stuff.
All right.
So,
all right, we're already 19 minutes into this. You got a couple shorts before we say goodbye.
Yeah. We'll say we can talk about the high-speed rail tomorrow. And let's do that instead.
Okay. Well,
so,
all right.
Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Let's keep in mind, if you've been listening to this, we're doing this live July 13th at just a little after noon Eastern time. Excuse me, after 2 Eastern time. So this information should be current. But if you're watching this later on YouTube and or Facebook, just keep in mind that we're recording it on the 13th of July. Travel safely, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.